Hey everyone, back again here. Continuing off from if and else statements, I'm going to actually be showing you how to build your own functions and some of the parameters that you can put into it. This might be broken into two parts depending on how long this takes. Just a heads up on that. So let's get started here. So I'm on Basics 5 since this is the fifth one in the tutorial system or guide system or lessons, however you want to take this. So let's start off with a PHP tag like normal. Now, when you build a function, most time, if you've seen in the previous tutorials, I've used preset functions. These are automatically built into PHP. The is set, the empty, random. Now, I'm going to show you how to build your own. So later on, like say if you're trying to build a kind of a bigger system, not just a simple system. You want like something that you need to call multiple times throughout your page. Functions come in handy, especially if you need to have them predefined in a certain formula. So I'm going to break that down here. So starting off, we're going to start off by stating function. We're going to say this is going to be a function. Now we need to name our function here. We're going to name it game underline damage. That's what my function is going to be. And then I'm going to set two parentheses, left and right. Just going to close it. I'm not sending any parameters to this, and I'll show you how to send parameters and other things. Then we're going to go left curly bracket, and then a right curly bracket. So now we have our function defined. It's called game damage. Now we need a formula for our game damage to do, and I really just want to make something really up. Now later on I might have more of it in detail on this, more in the advanced or moderate tutorials. So we're just going to make something quite simple and easy. Let's define our first variable in it. We're going to go attacker. Okay, we're going to do a random. I want it to have go from, they can do a minimum of 10 damage to 300. Now that's a wide range, but I'm going to do other formulas on top of that. Now we have our attacker, because this is going to be game damage. It's going to be damage being done, and I want it to return the damage being done. So we have our attacker, it does a random. We're going to make an if statement. If attacker does damage higher than 200, then we need to go trying to think, what would be a good one for that? Bonus. We'll go bonus damage then. And actually, since I set that at 200, that's kind of lower this number here. Let's go 250. Alright, we're going to go bonus. Bonus equals random 10. Well, we're going to go 0 and 1. So it can be either a 0 or a 1 here. Now we're going to do another if statement off this random. I'm just going to set a note here. If bonus 0 times by -1. Okay, so we have our bonus, and then we need to have our bonus damage. Now the reason why I'm sending in this really odd random here is because I want to have it to be able that your bonus to either subtract from your damage or add to your damage. Alright, we're going to go random, and it can add a bonus of 50. 0 to 50. And that'll equal up to 300 if they get 250. Or less. So we're going to set an if here. We're going to go bonus. We're going to go equal. If it equals 0, in this case, and double equal is equal. Don't use a single. You'll have tons of if statement issues. I didn't mention that in the previous tutorial, but I'm going to say that now. Okay, if equal to 0, we're going to go bonus damage is equal to bonus damage times -1. So we're going to make that number negative. Now if it's a 0, it's not say 0. Now from there, we're going to attach our bonus damage onto attacker. So attacker, and I'm going to do a plus equal in this case, because I'm just going to be adding it to it. Plus equal bonus damage. And there's multiple other ways you can do this. I'm just kind of show it simple. Instead of breaking out like I did here for the times, I'm going to kind of show you a simplified of adding it together. You can do the same thing for subtracting. So I have that. So that's our if statement. Now the last thing in a function, if you wanted to return a value back from you calling it, you'd have to use return, and then you can return true. You can return false. In this case, I'm going to actually return my attacker damage. So attacker, variable attacker. Now we just defined our first variable, or I said variable, my bad. Our first function. Now we need to be able to call that function and use that function. You can't call that function above itself because it hasn't been defined yet. You have to call it below the function. So whenever you build your functions, make sure it's higher up in the page before you ever call it. Now, if you have included files, make sure the include file is up higher than when you call it still. So let's just call it. In this case, I'm just going to call game damage. Now, as you can tell, I still set my parentheses, and then I set my semicolon because I'm calling an actual function. It just doesn't have any parameters for it. Now, if I go here, basics5.php, nothing outputs. It returned it, but I have nothing displaying this data in the background. Now, there's multiple ways I can do this. I'm going to show you one of them is the normal echo game damage. Refresh here, 254. So I did 254 damage. If I refresh again, I did 131. Like I said, it's a random number, generated a little bit different. You have your bonus damage is all I made it to do. Another way that you can do this is set it to a variable. So attacker is equal to game damage, defender, because we're going to make it where our defender can actually do damage back, equals game damage. Now I'll call this function twice. Do I get the same number? No, I'm going to actually get a random number every time I call this function. That's the whole point of making this function, so it's always different. In this case, it's not always be different. You might call a function to verify a value and then make sure it outputs what you want. Instead of having something random occur or making the same code 5 different times in the same place. And now let's just echo. Let's go echo attacker equal, we're going to go damage. Oh, it's not damage, it's attacker. And defender is equal to defender. Now, let's display what this is going to show us. And actually, I have a parameter error here because I set that. There we go. Make sure you don't have the ending quote unless you're going to set text back here like this. I added another space. I don't really need to do that. I can add the BR because later on I'm going to set some more information down below. So we're going to click refresh. So as you can tell, I got two different random numbers. My attacker got 52. My defender got 74. So my defender would have won in this battle. Basically, what I'm going to be doing a little bit later, I'm going to be showing you that your attacker is going to be less than, so subtract from each, and then what is left over do the damage, is basically what I'm thinking of this in this formula. Now, what happens if I want to upgrade game damage? Now, I say upgrade it. I mean pass parameters to it. Right now, there's no parameters or variables being passed to game damage. So let's define a variable. Let's go minimum damage and max damage. Now, how I'm doing this right now, I'm not using those variables. Now, will it cause an error if I do it down here? Yes. I go refresh here. Boom. I get errors because those are required arguments. Now, if you don't want your arguments being required, you can go equal to. I'm going to go 10 here because I'm going to actually replace minimum damage with that, maximum damage with the 250. So let's go here and go equal 250. Now, if I just refresh, those errors disappear. Because what I have is those parameters are automatically defined, so they're not required. When you do set in the parameters, you have to still set them in the correct order. You can't switch and swap them or anything. But let's add in our min damage down here where our 10 is, since that's our defined parameter. And let's add our max damage down here at 250. Okay, so refresh. So now my numbers are back to working. They change every time. Now, I still haven't set any parameters to my function. Well, I'm going to show you that actually down below here. So, let's go attacker. We're going to name it attacker2. We're going to go game damage. We're going to say the minimum damage they can do is 0, so they can do nothing. And the maximum they can do is 25. And let's do our defender2 here. Oops. Defender2. Okay. And I can't spell any day of the week. Alright. And we're going to make it where our defender can't get to 0 because he's defending himself. But he can only go up to 25. So I can make it where the attacker is really useless or the attacker is even with the defender. And let's just copy this string right here. So I can echo this and show you it. So we're just going to set attacker 2, 2, 2, and 2. This is a set parameter, so our max is now different on these. Our minimum is 0 for the attacker, and then max is 25 for our attacker. Our minimum for our defender is actually still 10, so I didn't have to really define 10, but since I have to get to the next parameter or next variable, or next value in that function, I have to set that there. I can't skip. I can't set false, and then it'll just mess up this issue. And I'll show you some of those errors too. And then the max is 25, so we just change those numbers around a little bit. Click refresh. Boom. Okay, so as you can see, these numbers aren't hitting in the hundreds. They're not going to hit in the hundreds like it is here. Now, this function right here becomes useless because they can't go above 200. Now, depending on how your function is, you can redefine that or add another if statement or else if statement like I showed in the previous tutorial. But I just wanted to show you that you can change these parameters. I can change this all the way down to 0, 0. There we go. So let's refresh. 0, 0, 0. Our attacker would lose instantly. So let's just set that back to 25. Now that's how you pass parameters to it. Now what happens if I pass a parameter wrong? I'll do that right down here. And this is where I'm going to actually be causing the error. Error parameters to function. And now this might not be a complete sentence, but I like to just kind of show you this, what would happen here. And you would build checks for this. We're just going to go false. Now I only defined one of them. I didn't define both. If I go refresh here, boop, I have no error. Now that's only because my error reporting is actually turned off. Error reporting. And EAll will just display all types of errors. It's not just one type of error. Refresh. It's not going to give me anything. I'm giving out false, so it's not going to even give me anything, and I'm not using it. Let's go echo. There we go. Boom. Now my page broke. Now you can't see these errors that are actually occurring, but I can actually pop up my error log here. And this, depending on your server, you'll have an error log in the same folder usually. Boom. Missing argument, 1 of 2, 1 of 2. Those are the errors I caused there. This time I just broke it by setting false. I can't even get an error. It doesn't even want to process. Now, say if I only want to pass one parameter, we're going to make the minimum 250. Or, actually, wow, 250 to 250. That's not very smart. 200. So that means this echo's minimum is going to be 200. Now, this error I was trying to cause actually killed the whole page on me. So. In this case, I'm only going to pass one parameter, so I'm passing the minimum. So minimum is going from 10 to 200, and then max is still 250 here. So if I output this, I'm going to get 285, 200, 276. I'm just going to get random numbers here, as you can tell. They're not always high, and they're not always low for this last number. Now, that's the basic of a custom function that you can do. You can call functions inside functions. You can say, oh, okay, I did that. Let's see. Let's make an else if here. Else if. Let's see. Attacker is less than 50. We can go right here. We can go attacker is going to be plus equal to game damage. And we're just going to say I can only add up to a 50 bonus onto it. Now, you're not going to see this function unless I echo out something for it, but I would like to just kind of show you that you can call yourself within yourself. See, nothing breaks. Now, as you can tell, it calls itself multiple times until it gets higher than 250. As you saw, I had about a 2,000 number up here. Let's see if I can get that again. Oh, there you go, 402. Now, kind of show you how many times that loops, we can go right here. Now, just because you have a function, the echoes will echo where you call that function. So I'm just going to do an echo repeat function. And then we're just actually set the number at the end because I'd like to know what my attacker damage was previously. And then I would like to go echo end of repeat. And we'll see how many times it does this. End of repeat function. And let's see what our output becomes. Okay. One thing we're going to need is a BR because that would be helpful on breaking down the lines. And then finally I'm just going to echo it down here. Echo H1 split. H1. I can't end that tag. There we go. Alright, so what I have it doing right now is it's going to echo right down here. It's going to tell me what the repeat function is if it does repeat. So let's click refresh. Oof. This is it repeating. That's how many times it went up on itself. Then attacker and defender. Then did it again. So as you can tell, it's actually repeating. And you need to be wary of that because you might have an endless loop, and then you might have to set a counter. and that'll just make sure it counts up every time, so you can say only 10 times it can go, or 3 times, or 5 times. Because right now what I have it at is going bonkers, and in this case I can actually, if I do it right, I can send it into an endless loop. That's never a good sign. Kind of, I pretty close did that already. You can see right here. Yeah, that's one of the fun factors of when you're working with functions. What I'm going to be showing next tutorial is probably done beyond classes, unless I think I forgot something in functions for you. I'll come back to this, but hope this was useful. If you liked it, click like, comment down below if you have any questions, and feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up to date. So, all of you, have a good one. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a comment or like below. If you want to keep up with all activities on the channel, click subscribe. And if you would like to watch another video, there's some videos listed down below here, and thanks for watching.